You are listening to the CMQ Investing Podcast. My name is Chris Franco, and I can almost guarantee that Warren Buffett would never even consider buying Twitter. Not the entire business, not even a piece of the business. There are a number of reasons why I believe this is true, but I want to focus on one in particular, and that is honest management. Over the years in his annual letters, Warren Buffett has consistently mentioned honest management as being an essential characteristic of any business that he and Charlie Munger would consider buying. Now, how does this lead us to Twitter? Yesterday evening, it was reported that Twitter's former security head had filed a whistleblower complaint about the company and the management at the company. What I'm going to share with you, I was blown away by. I kept my reactions in it, so you'll hear how I was responding to it in real time. Let's get to it, but before we do, just a friendly reminder, if you're not already following CMQ Investing on Spotify or Apple, to please go ahead and do that now. It literally takes 2 seconds, and that way you will never miss out on any of the CMQ Investing content. With that said, let's get to it. The article that I'll be reading pieces of comes from the Wall Street Journal. It was published on August 23rd, 2022. Twitter's former head of security filed a whistleblower complaint against the company, accusing it of failing to protect sensitive user data and lying about its security problems, just weeks ahead of the social networking platform's courtroom battle with Elon Musk. Peter Zatko, who was fired as Twitter's head of security earlier this year, submitted the complaint last month to the Securities and Exchange Commission, according to a representative of Whistleblower Aid, an organization that helped file the claims. His submission says that he uncovered extreme, egregious deficiencies by Twitter in every area of his mandate, including privacy, digital and physical security, platform integrity, and content moderation. Be funny if it also said Jack Dorsey's beard. Among Mr. Zatko's claims are that Twitter executives, including Chief Executive Parag Agrawal, and I apologize for my terrible pronunciation, deliberately undercounted the prevalence of spam on the platform. These claims could further complicate Twitter's battle with Mr. Musk, who the company sued in July to enforce a $44 billion takeover deal. Mr. Musk has alleged Twitter misrepresented its business, particularly as it relates to the level of spam or bot accounts, claims that Twitter denies. A 5-day non-jury trial is slated to begin in October. The existence of the whistleblower complaint was earlier reported by the Washington Post and CNN. A Twitter spokeswoman said Mr. Zatko was fired for, quote, ineffective leadership and poor performance, and that the complaint is, quote, riddled with inconsistencies and inaccuracies and lacks important context. I'm not saying that that's true or not true. It's like, of course, they're going to throw him under the bus. A lawyer for Mr. Musk said, we have already issued a subpoena for Mr. Zatko, and we found his exit and that of other key employees curious in light of what we have been finding. Twitter shares were down roughly 5% in Tuesday intraday trading. Mr. Zatko, a former hacker who is known as Mudge, has been a noted computer security researcher for decades. He was a member of a Boston cybersecurity collective that came to prominence in 1998 when it offered warnings about the state of national cybersecurity in testimony to the U.S. Senate. During one Senate hearing, the group told lawmakers that they could take down the internet in 30 minutes. He was hired by Twitter in late 2020 after a career that included other corporate roles. Whistleblower Aid's founder, John Tai, said Mr. Zatko first approached the nonprofit in early March through the encrypted messaging app Signal. Mr. Tai said Mr. Zatko has never met or spoken with Mr. Musk, and that Mr. Musk's team has been in contact with the nonprofit about Mr. Zatko's complaint. He sees this whistleblowing as sort of the last resort, Mr. Tai said of Mr. Zatko. He obviously worked hard inside the company, used the internal channels, and ultimately has ended up as a whistleblower. Mr. Zatko was brought into Twitter by co-founder Jack Dorsey after a high-profile hack by a teenager who bypassed the company's security systems. Mr. Dorsey specifically recruited Mudge for his reputation of speaking truth to power, according to the complaint. Mr. Dorsey, however, was only a sporadic presence at the company, and the new hire, who had hundreds of staff reporting to him, was quickly overwhelmed by the task at hand, according to the complaint. At one point, Mr. Agrawal told his team, Twitter has 10 years of unpaid security bills, per the complaint. The relationship between Mr. Zatko and Twitter's leadership deteriorated over the subsequent months, according to both parties. Mr. Zatko helped oversee a critical report on Twitter's ability to fight misinformation and spam, which other executives watered down, according to the complaint, which said Mr. Zatko was told by a Twitter lawyer that the changes were intended to hide the findings and prevent them from leaking internally or externally. Obviously, these are all allegations right now, but wow, that would be really, really bad if that's true. The complaint also expresses concerns about Twitter's ties to foreign governments and says the company may have foreign spies on its payroll. Holy yikes. It states that Mr. Zatko believed that the Indian government had forced the company to knowingly hire at least one employee who had access to vast amounts of Twitter-sensitive data. India's Washington embassy didn't immediately respond to a request for comment. Yeah, I wonder why. Hey guys, just curious, calling here from the Wall Street Journal. Wanted to see if you guys know anything about some spies that you have on Twitter's payroll. Could you just get back to us at your earliest convenience? Thanks so much. Later. Earlier this month, a former Twitter employee was found guilty by a U.S. jury of spying for Saudi Arabia. What is going on? I knew about none of this. Spying for Saudi Arabia by passing on private user information associated with critics of the kingdom in exchange for hundreds of thousands of dollars while he worked at the company from 2013 to 2015. Much of the complaint, though, deals with fake or spam accounts, a topic that Mr. Musk drew attention to in his takeover bid for Twitter. Like the Tesla Inc. CEO, Mr. Zatko alleges that Twitter miscounts such users by focusing only on what are known as monetizable daily users, or MDAU, rather than all total daily users. The former category counts only those accounts that are thought to view advertising. There are many millions of active accounts that are not considered MDAU, either because they are spam bots or because Twitter does not believe it can monetize them, Mr. Zatko's complaint says. These millions of non-MDAU accounts are part of the median user's experience on the platform. Twitter has said it has a system for measuring users and spam that entails multiple human reviews of thousands of accounts sampled at random over time. Well, if you can do that, how about you do that internally for foreign spies? Mr. Zatko's complaint said he attempted to formally notify Twitter's board of his concerns, but was steered off by Mr. Agrawal. In a memo to employees Tuesday about the whistleblower complaint, Mr. Agrawal said, "I know this is frustrating and confusing to read, given Mudge was accountable for many aspects of this work that he is now inaccurately portraying more than 6 months after his termination." Mr. Agrawal defended Twitter's work on privacy and security, while adding that the attention the complaint has brought to the company will make its work harder. "We will pursue all paths to defend our integrity as a company and set the record straight," he said. I just want to jump in here because, based on what I just read above, and I know I'm not overreacting just because we're recording. I mean, I was actually blown away by some of those complaints. I really want to follow up on this stuff because that's, I don't invest in Twitter, and I've talked about this probably on either YouTube or this podcast, but just in general as a user of Twitter, I mean, that's what's going on over there, right? I mean, I understand big companies have big company problems, but spies? Like, are you serious? Twitter in 2011 reached an agreement with the FTC to maintain rigorous security, including limiting the number of employees with access to its key security and privacy controls. Mr. Zatko alleges that the company is in violation of that accord. The FTC didn't respond to a request for comment. Copies of the complaint were sent to the Senate Judiciary and Intelligence Committees, aides of each panel said. What's going on with Twitter, and the lesson that I think this brings about, is one that is time-tested and usable. It's one we can use to our advantage as investors today. What I'm talking about is being able to trust that the management of the business is being honest with you, that they're being honest with their board, that they're being honest with themselves. I want to leave us with something that Warren Buffett wrote in his 1994 letter to shareholders. Charlie Munger and I make few predictions. One we will confidently offer, however, is that the future performance of Berkshire won't come close to matching the performance of the past. The problem is not that what has worked in the past will cease to work in the future. To the contrary, we believe that our formula, the purchase at sensible prices of businesses that have good underlying economics and are run by honest and able people, is certain to produce reasonable success. We expect, therefore, to keep on doing well. Now, with that being said, if we want to do well as investors, it would behoove us, and I just wanted to use the word behoove, it would behoove us to follow along that formula. If you're going to buy individual pieces of businesses, make sure the management is honest and accept nothing less. I believe that is an important thing for us to learn how to do, and if we do it, we should be able to do better as a result. For CMQ Investing, my name is Chris Franco. Thanks so much for listening. Make sure you check out some of the other episodes. There's over 100 of them. I've put a lot of time, attention, and detail into them, and I hope they're useful for you. They've been really useful for me. So once again, thank you for listening, and we'll talk soon.